Hi, I'm Gretchen Nielsen, Executive Director of From the Top. From the Top celebrates the talents and stories of young musicians from around the country. For over 2 decades, we have showcased these young musicians on our NPR radio show. From the Top is more than a singular performance. We believe that young musicians have the power to create positive change in their communities. So part of our work is providing focused leadership training and community engagement opportunities for every young musician with whom we work. Each day, I'm inspired by the dedication, the persistence, the creativity of our young musicians, and that is why we're working so hard to bring you the incredible stories and transformative artistry of these young people. Whether you've been with us for weeks, months, years, and especially if you're new to us, thank you so much. If you believe in the work of our young musicians, please consider making a gift. Your support will ensure the future From the Top and will fuel the many ways that we are able to amplify the soulful, the insightful, the joyful voices of our young musicians. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another evening of music here at From the Top. I'm your host, pianist Peter Dugan, and it's a new year, and that means we've got tons of new music for you. I'm rocking my From the Top t-shirt tonight, dressing it up with a suit jacket, though, as you can see. T-shirt fancy is the term that I like to use for this look, and that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling like ready for a good night, and I hope you are too. We have 2 amazing musicians who we featured recently on our program. We have pianist from Chicago named Joshua Mhoon. He's 17 years old. And we have a violinist from Westchester, Pennsylvania. Her name's Vibha Janakiraman, and she is 15 years old. They've got a wonderful program for us. I want to encourage all of you to get into the chat section. Tell us where you're watching from and let us know how you're enjoying the program. Your support means a lot to our young artists. They love to hear from you. And be sure to participate later in the program when we get into our game, which is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, thank you for joining us. And now we're going to have 2 back-to-back performances to start things off. Let's hand it over to Vibha Janakiraman. Yeah! Wow, what a dynamite way to open up the program. That was Joshua Mhoon, and before that you heard Vibha Janakiraman. Vibha, tell us what piece you played to start things off.
I played Kreisler's Recitativo and Scherzo. It's a piece that I had studied a few years ago and I was able to bring back for this concert. It's a really interesting piece to play and it has a variety of different moods, so I really enjoy being able to sort of switch gears halfway through the piece. And
Yeah.
I think the slow section is almost, I mean, you wouldn't expect Kreisler to write anything like that, but the Scherzo section is so in his character of composition.
Yeah, and you played it with all the charm that it needs. It was so stylistically polished and just beautifully played. How about you, Josh? Tell us what you played.
That piece I just played was by a composer by the name of 𝘗𝐿 who just happened to die last year in 2020. And this piece was his final concert etude, and he wrote 8 of them. And he's a really interesting composer to me because like Vibha, this is a piece I learned a while ago and had brought back for this performance. And recently, because of the passing, I decided to take up his repertoire and start learning more of it. And a lot of his music, or all of it, has a lot of influence from American jazz music. Obviously, he's a Russian composer, but he took a lot of influence from black jazz pianists. So I just love the influences that he put in there. And I like to sometimes improvise with it a little bit and have some fun. So it's a lot of freedom in this piece, which is why I really love it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you grew up listening to all kinds of music, and I can hear that in the way you play that. Now, I know that that's a through composed composition where every note is there on the page and everything, which is great because it makes it possible for pianists who don't know how to improvise to be able to get the feeling of like you're playing jazz, but it's not the same if you haven't grown up and you don't have the idiom, in you. And so that was a tremendous performance of it, man. Great.
Thank you very much. I thought, Vibha, you did fantastic. I
You did fantastic as well.
Oh, you guys. So I actually do want to have a little bit of interaction between the two of you now because I know that you've both listened to the radio episode that you were featured on. For those of you watching right now at home, if you haven't heard these two on the radio, you can still hear them by going to fromthetop.org or go wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe or follow the From the Top podcast and you can hear their episode. But I'm curious if maybe, Joshua, if you could respond to, what were your impressions? What did you think listening to Vibha's portion on the NPR show?
Well, I thought, first of all, you did an incredible job on the show. The piece was fantastic. It was something very interesting that I think I've never really heard in solo violin repertoire. And I do have a question for you, actually, because as you mentioned in the show, I'm not going to spoil anything for people that haven't seen it yet, but there was one specific thing that was interesting about that you can switch between playing European classical music to Indian classical music. And I wanted to know, is there some sort of, difficulty in switching techniques? Because, I mean, you're switching your entire way that you're interpreting and putting out the music that you're playing when you switch between those two genres.
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge, especially because I spend more of my time practicing Western music and have sort of been playing Western classical violin for longer than I have been playing Indian classical violin. And I think for me, the challenge is not necessarily some of the stylistic changes because I've grown up with that system, so I'm very familiar with it from what I'm hearing and from a listening point of view. But I do find that switching between what my left hand has to do can be very challenging. And my Indian violin teacher, she always jokes that what she has to tell me is often the opposite of what she tells her other students, because since South Indian classical music, or Carnatic music as we call it, since it uses a lot of slides and there's really more emphasis on the way you travel from note to note than like the individual notes themselves. And so she says that she typically has to tell students to be more cognizant of like how specifically they're placing their fingers on each note, Whereas for me, she always has to tell me to sort of get rid of that desire to be extremely exact in where I place each one of my left-hand fingers, and to rather think more about the waterfall or the arch in getting from note to note. So switching between those two can often be a challenge, and it's actually one of the challenges that I sort of had to learn to bridge when I was playing darshan on the show.
Wow. That's fascinating.
That's a fantastic answer.
Yeah, that's so,
in depth. I appreciate
so interesting. I have a just a quick follow-up question, which is, when you slide, like, you know, you're playing Chrysler or something, and you do a nice slide, is that, do you have a different technique for a slide like that than, I don't know what this is, by the way, but do you have a different technique for that than when you're sliding between pitches playing Indian music?
Well, I wouldn't say that I really ever consciously think about the technique itself, but when I'm doing a slide in Western music, I think we don't pay attention as much to the subtleties of how we slide from note to note. I mean, you can have variety in terms of timing or what you do with your bow arm to support the slide in the left hand, but whereas in Carnatic music, there's sort of, I wouldn't say rules, but guidelines for each thing that I'm playing. And so I have to be much more aware of how I'm doing those slides, not really from a physical point of view, but more so from how it sounds.
Well, for those of you joining us right now, we're going to hear some of that piece later on in the, spoiler alert, we're going to hear some of it later on in the show tonight, so stick around to hear it. It's just beautiful. Vibha, what did you think listening to Josh's segment on the radio?
I thought you did an amazing job. As an avid piano lover, I really loved listening to you perform, and I thought you did such an incredible job, especially with an opening that's so tricky to sort of master, especially when you have nerves in a performance or recording setting. So I thought you did an amazing job. And I was really interested to hear sort of the various points that you talked about in your interview. But I actually wanted to ask you, since you had talked about how going into studying piano, you didn't necessarily have the expectation that you would be particularly interested in classical music, and that you actually were more interested in various other genres that you wanted to play. And I was curious as to whether there was a specific time or a specific set of pieces maybe that first sparked that love for classical music in you when you were sort of in your early stages of learning piano.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for that compliment. And I would actually say that my love for classical music did not, it was completely subliminal, but really it wasn't a piece or certain pieces that sort of made me fall in love with it, but rather I think it was my teachers over the years that I've had that continue to deepen my passion for the music that I'm playing, because, you know, as a kid, I mean, I didn't really have much of a choice of what I wanted to play or what pieces I wanted to play. So even listening, you know, I listened to it not super in-depthly, but it was really the teachers that allowed me to become an emphatic classical music lover.
What would you say is a moment in a lesson that stood out to you, or something that a way in which a teacher kind of shared something with you that just made things tick?
I think my first teacher, I was really young, and it was my first teacher, so I obviously hadn't been playing that long, but I think the first moment that I remember really feeling invigorated and passion to continue was, he said, Mom, can you remember what Dr. Steckman said? He said, the more you, what does it go?
The more you play, the more you'll love it.
Okay, so the more you play the piano, the more you'll love it. And the more you love it, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the more successful you become. And the more successful you become, the more you love the music.
Wow.
So it was a cyclical explanation that I could understand as a little one, because, you know, I wasn't super intrigued by continuing this instrument. But I think after that moment, you know, that was sort of the driving force, you know. It was a great quote. Even though
well, shout out to your mom there off camera for helping you remember the quote. Let's get into some more music now. And Josh, you have a piece by a fella named Ludwig van Beethoven, who happened to have just celebrated a big birthday. What are we going to hear?
I'm going to be playing Ludwig van Beethoven's 27th Piano Sonata in E minor, the first movement. And this is a fantastic opportunity for me because I could not play or perform this piece publicly last year, so this is going to be my first performance of this sonata.
Oh, how lucky are we? Okay, take it from the
So
top. All right, my man.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Josh, amazing. That was your first performance of that piece. And it's a really difficult piece to pull off interpretively because, you know, we're getting into the very beginnings of Beethoven's late period. And the piece has such dramatic contrasts. I thought you really nailed it, though.
Thank you very much. It's the battle of the mind and the soul, you know?
That's right. There's that quote about Beethoven describing it as that, like, duality there. Vibha, what do you have to say about that performance? I know that you've become quite the fan of piano music of late.
I definitely have been. I think in the recent past, maybe the past year even, I think I've been listening to primarily piano repertoire and chamber music repertoire as well. But yeah, I've just really taken a love for the instrument and all of the vast repertoire that it has. And Joshua, I thought you did a fantastic job with that piece. I love Beethoven, as I think most people do, and although I can't speak for everyone, and late Beethoven in particular, I'm more familiar with the string quartets probably than the piano sonatas, but I thought you did such a good job of sort of capturing that quality that we begin to hear, especially at the beginning of Beethoven's late period, and yeah, it was just an amazing performance.
Thank you so much.
I love just all the love here, and this is what From the Top is all about, is this kind of like supportive environment, you know, and it's just, I know you two have never actually even met in person. Obviously, normally if we'd been doing the shows the way we used to in the before times, we would all be together in person and we'd be bonding. But I'm so happy to see that it's still able to happen to some extent, even though we're doing this all virtually. I want to ask you both a couple of questions because, of course, you're not in the same city. We have Vibha just outside of my hometown of Philadelphia. We have Joshua, who's coming to us from Chicago. I want to get down to something very important, which is food. What do you think is... And I want to start with Joshua, which is like when you think of Chicago, the food scene, what's the one food that you're like, this is the best here?
Well, you know, Chicago is one of the greatest cities on earth, so I couldn't get away with just saying one. That'd be kind of doing my hometown kind of bogus. So I think I'm gonna name three. We got Garrett's popcorn, some of the best popcorn in the world. You got pizza, deep dish pizza from anywhere basically, and then finally we got Vienna beef hot dogs, which are some of the best hot dogs you'll ever have. Those are my top three.
All right, choices. Strong contenders. How about you, Vibha? What about Philly?
Well, I think the most famous Philly food would be the Philly cheesesteak, but I've never had one, so I can't speak on that because I don't eat meat. But
okay.
I think
then that's fine.
Soft pretzels are also a big deal from Philly, and I absolutely love soft pretzels. And I'm not sure if Philadelphia cream cheese actually originated from Philadelphia. I would assume it did, but I'm also a very big bagel cream cheese fan, so that would be my third answer.
Nice. Real quick, do you have pretzel days at school? Because I know I did growing up in the Philly area. Is that still a thing?
I don't know if it still is a thing, but I remember when I was younger, we definitely had pretzel days.
Pretzel Days was the greatest thing ever, folks. It was just a day where freshly baked soft pretzels were available for 15 cents, I think is what it cost when I was growing up. Back when I was a kid, 15 cents for a pretzel. Before we jump on to some more music, let's hear a little show and tell. So I think both of you have a sort of prized possession nearby. Why don't we have Vibha go first?
So I think that anybody who has ever met me in person will not be surprised by this at all. But my show and tell item is this penguin. His name is Pengu, and he's sort of my musical companion that attends all of my rehearsals, performances, anything of that sort. And I guess my show and tell item isn't the penguin himself, but sort of the whole world of stuffed animals that he represents. Because when I was younger, I have a whole box of them, which unfortunately have been stuffed somewhere in the basement, in the depths of some box. But
Right.
I used to have an entire country for them. And so that country had a national anthem, some sort of a language, and a very strange government system, and geography, and all the stuffed animals had American first names and Indian last names. That was sort of the custom of that country. And so the country was called Puja, and it was a very huge part of my life when I was younger. And so I still carry a few of those Pujans with me.
Wow. Can I go live in Puja? That sounds like a beautiful place. Joshua, what do you have?
Well, before I go, one quick question. What is the full name of Pingu?
Oh, his full name is Pengu Narayanaswamy.
That's long. That is long.
Very long.
That's all I needed to know. It's very nice to meet him.
Yes.
And the show and tell item that I have is a personal collectible item, a piece of memorabilia. Because as a young kid, I always used to listen to Michael Jackson with my dad in the cars, along with many other artists, but Michael Jackson was just one of my favorite ones. And I got this autograph like last year, 2 years ago.
Whoa.
Signed by MJ. I don't know how long ago, but this means a lot to me, and I just keep it around in my music room, just for some inspiration, because I think he's one of the greatest entertainers and singers of all time. So I really love MJ, man.
That must be an inspiring, thing to just like give you that energy to just keep going,
Exactly.
and play with all your heart and soul. I love that. Well, it's time for some more music. Vibha, you've got Bach for us next, right?
Yes, I will be playing the Preludio from Bach's Third Partita for solo violin in E major.
Can't wait. I love this piece. Brava, brava. Vibha Janakiraman, that Bach was just so inspiring, so exuberant the way you played it. So wonderful. Thank you, Vibha. If you're just joining us, we have two recent From the Top alums for you tonight. That was Vibha Janakiraman. She's 15, coming to us from the Philadelphia area. We also have 17-year-old pianist Joshua Mhoon, who's joining us from Chicago. I also want to just take a moment to let all of you know that From the Top, we're just really happy to share with you that we actually exceeded our fundraising goal for the end of 2020. And, you know, we couldn't have done that, of course, without the help of all of you. We're really, really excited about that, and so grateful to every one of you who helped us get there and help support our efforts. It's going to mean that 2021 has lots of great stuff coming your way. So again, thank you. We need your help again, though, right now, because it's time for our game. And it's very important that all of you participate at home by getting into the chat section and telling us, you know, what you think is the right answer to each of these questions. So get ready, and let's bring Vibha and Joshua back on. Hello, hello. Are you guys ready for this game?
Yes.
All right. So every time the rules are a little different, and the structure of the game is a little different. So the way it's going to work this time, we're talking about composers who have hidden talents. And basically, I'm going to mention a composer, and I'm going to give you three options, and you're going to tell me which of these was the hidden talent of this composer. Okay? So the first one is the great Hildegard von Bingen. All right, she's a 12th century composer. We're talking way back, way back. All right, now which of these was her special hidden talent? Did she brew beer? Was she a powerful healer? Or was she great at archery? And we're going to go to Joshua first for this.
I think archery is too easy of an answer. I'm going to say number 2, healer. I don't know, because music is healing for some people, so maybe she figured out other methods of healing outside of music.
Nice. Okay, one vote for healer. How about you, Vibha?
I agree with Joshua. I'm going to say healer.
Actually, she brewed beer. Not just that, but she was apparently the first person to discover hops in beer. So all those hipsters out there who are into your hoppy beers, you have Hildegard von Bingen to thank. And I know you two don't know anything about that. But okay, let's go on. How about Jean-Baptiste Lully, the 17th century French composer? Was his hidden talent crafting fine jewelry, being a falconer, or being a ballet dancer? Falconer, of course, is someone who like has a falcon, you know, that sits on your arm and like, yeah.
I don't know how much of a talent.
Okay, well, it takes skill. Trust me. No, I don't know. Vibha, what do you think? Fine jewelry, falconer, or ballet dancer?
I'm leaning towards ballet dancer.
Okay, Joshua?
I'm gonna say the first was, what was whatever the first option
Crafting
was.
fine jewelry.
Crafting fine jewelry.
The correct answer is ballet dancer. In fact, he was known to have danced in his own ballets to which he composed the music. Can you imagine if Stravinsky did that? Like Stravinsky dancing to The Rite of Spring? Dun, 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 with his little beret on. Anyway, okay. I don't know why I did that. Rossini, the great bel canto opera composer. This one's a little different. Rather than what was his hidden talent, it's going to be what did he think was his talent, to the extent that he went around and annoyed the people who actually did that by trying to tell them how to do their job. All right, so did he go around bothering A, chefs at restaurants, telling them how to do their job, B, horse-drawn carriage drivers, or C, the tailors that were in charge of fitting his clothes? Who did he go around bothering? You're up, Josh.
It has to be one or three because I know he was a big dude. So, I'm gonna go with tailoring. Alterations.
Alterations. Okay.
I think yeah.
How about you, Vibha? What do you think? Vibha, can you hear us?
I can hear you now, but I couldn't hear you when you said the question.
That's fine. You're right on time.
Okay.
Rossini was known for bothering folks who were, that was their job, but he acted like he knew better than them how to do it. So the question is, would he bother chefs at restaurants, horse-drawn carriage drivers, or the tailors who were in charge of fitting his clothes?
I think chefs at restaurants.
Chefs at restaurants is correct. He was known for, interrupting the chefs to tell them how to make the food better. Okay. Finally, we have John Cage, the avant-garde American composer. This one is less of a hidden talent and more of a obsession. Okay, which of the following was an obsession of John Cage? Clocks, mushrooms, or model trains? And Vibha, you're up first.
I think clocks.
Okay, Josh?
I second that.
Good guess, but actually the answer was mushrooms. He was really into mushrooms and actually would collect them. Apparently, it started during the Great Depression when he was so hungry and so poor that he would go around looking for mushrooms as a way to get some sustenance. John Cage, wacky dude. Okay, thank you all for joining us for that game. Thanks for playing along at home. And now to take us out of the program, we have two very special pieces, both by female composers who I know you both championed their work, which is just really inspiring. And we're going to start by hearing, Vibha, you're going to play the piece that you actually performed on the show.
Yes, I will be.
So tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear.
I will be performing an excerpt of Darshan, which is the piece I performed on the show. And this piece basically combines elements of Western classical music and South Indian classical music, or I guess also North Indian classical music. And it was really interesting to work on and be able to combine these various elements into this one piece. And I think you'll find it very emotionally compelling.
Yeah, it's just a hauntingly beautiful piece. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you.
Vibha Janakiraman, ladies and gentlemen. So beautiful. We have Joshua Mhoon joining us now, who is going to take us out of the program with actually a very special video that you've put together for us, right, Josh? With another all-star from the top alum. Before you introduce the video, though, let me take a moment to just say thank you to all of you for watching tonight and for joining us. We're so happy to have been able to spend this time with you, and in a very special way, let's say thanks once more to Vibha and Josh for this fantastic evening of music. You two are stars, and we're so happy to have you among our family of From the Top alums. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
And now, Josh, tell us who's going to be featured in this video and what we're going to hear.
So the piece that me and my friend and former all-star From the Top alum Ifetayo Ali Landing are playing is by a black female composer named Florence Price, who, you know, there was a lot of controversy earlier or last year when her pieces got rediscovered, and this is a black female composer, African-American composer, and actually something that's really special about her is that me and Ife are both from the south side of Chicago, and Florence Price happened to get her big break, as you call it, actually in Chicago, where her piece was the first work written by it was either a black or a female, or it might have been both, but it was the first piece performed by a major symphony orchestra, first work composed and performed by a major symphony orchestra at the Chicago Symphony Center by the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. So this piece that we're playing is one of the three spirituals written for cello and piano, or violin and piano, and yeah, I know this is Ifetayo's favorite composer, and it's becoming one of mine. So I hope you guys all enjoy this clip.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. Can't wait to hear it. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Joshua and Ifetayo Ali Landing, another From the Top alum, for that video. And thank you to Vibha Janakiraman. I'm Peter Dugan. Thanks, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Bye.